Hello and a big welcome to this video where my friend Gary and I head up into the mountains to try and settle an old score about who has the best or the strongest tent. It's the Hilleberg Black Label Nammatj versus the Hilleberg Red Label Jannu. Now the wind forecast tonight was for 50 mile/hour gusts, so that's really what we're hoping on finding when we get to the summit. So we're now on the summit of a mountain called Carn Mountain, which is 588 metres. And I'm trying to sort of get the pole seated in the cups here, and I'm really struggling to do that. I couldn't just honestly quite work out what was wrong, so I've gone around the far side of the tent and I'm loosening off the guy line in case it was the tight guy lines that were stopping the poles actually going up. And here I'm just double checking to make sure that the pole is fully seated. And again, trying to get the pole up, and Gary he's well underway getting his tent up. Now I've actually got the poles seated now, and all I really have to do, once the poles are seated in the cup, all I have to actually do is pull the poles out and have the guy lines already set up so that they're supporting the poles. And then finally here, just the back of the tent, just securing the guy lines so that it's well supported, and then just tidying things up at the front, and we're pretty much good to go. Gary here has the Jannu all sorted, last couple of guy lines going in, making sure that the peg is completely secured. And there you have the two tents in sort of 35 to 40 mile/hour winds. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed the video so far, and thanks for watching so far. So filming now from inside the Hilleberg Nammatj. So the choice of tents for the video, I always say, I have to work with a tent that I can get my hands on. I own this tent, Gary owns the Jannu, both the tents are 3 kilograms, and we both have bought and owned these tents as one person using a 2-man tent for 4-season conditions. Inside the tent is very, very different. The Jannu has a very taut inner tent and it vibrates in the wind. The Nammatj here, the inner tent is really loose. Space-wise is also really, really different. The Nammatj here, absolutely tons of space, tons of height, tons of width. And when Gary and I were sort of sitting in the tent earlier on tonight, he was kind of sitting here. He didn't even need to move right to the front of the tent. And I was sitting, I didn't even need to move right to the back. And there was tons of height for us both and tons of space actually between the two of us. In the Jannu, it's much more restrictive for 2 people. You can see when Gary was trying to move towards the back of the tent, then you're losing height, and even at the front of the tent, it's not as high either. So there's a big difference for space if you're thinking about being in a tent for a prolonged period of time with 2 people. Now we were both, because of the wind last night, and it was forecast for potentially up to 55 miles per hour, I actually brought a spare pole, and Gary was using his 10mm poles instead of the 9mm poles that come with the tent. Now the performance of the tents in the winds, you can see here the Jannu uses a much more aerodynamic profile, and the Nammatj just catches a lot more wind. The tents, this Hilleberg Nammatj is a black label Hilleberg, using the strongest poles and fabrics, and the Jannu is a red label, using slightly lighter poles and slightly lighter fabrics. But the strength of the tents, there's absolutely nothing in it from what I can see here. The Jannu is incredibly strong, and it uses 3 poles over the structure, whereas the Nammatj really uses 2. So look, how do you decide on 2 tents like this? In reality, it just depends on your preference. If you're looking for space and a tent that does most things very, very well, the Hilleberg Nammatj here is brilliant. Although the measurements lengthwise, for example, are less than the Jannu, there is more usable space lengthwise because mainly of the vertical door, and also the rear doesn't slope just as dramatically. If you're looking for strength, then it's a tough one between the tents. Even though the Jannu is a red label tent, I would definitely say it is as strong and as stable, and certainly in the winds that we've had it out in. And when you go and push against the poles, it has a really, really rigid structure. the 10mm poles the guys using do help with that, but the ones that come with the pole, with the tent, you know, are really, really strong anyway. So I honestly couldn't decide. I've camped out in Garage Jannu. I've used it before. I've done a full review on it before. I've done a full review on the Nammatj. And I'm sort of thinking at the moment, if I was buying one of the tents for one person use, just for me mainly to use it, I think based on my feelings tonight, I might actually go for the Jannu. So I don't know if Gary has heard me say that or not, because he's lying on a tent beside me. Anyway, look, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed the video, and until next time.